Hello, it's me again, Chloe Bruce. I'm here to talk about some baffling aspects of schizophrenia, which I was diagnosed with some decades ago. And it's sometimes to do with attitudes and sometimes to do with genuinely co-occurring conditions that can seem to be part of the schizophrenic syndrome, if you can call it that. I'll read my little talk out now. One of the baffling things about schizophrenia is that some people say they hate you as a result of your schizophrenia, whilst those very same people hated you even before you had it. They're the type of person who get trigger happy with accusing other people of being mentally ill just for existing. One person kept going on about my schizophrenic handwriting when I was about 19 or 20, whilst others would launch criticism on me just for sitting quietly on my own on the sofa, for example, and then accuse me of being paranoid when all I said was I didn't like their attitude. These critical people are often fundamentally unhappy themselves. I've talked about co-occurring conditions in a psychosis. In my case, it turned out I also had epilepsy. A few years ago, a psychologist asked me if I'd ever had a test for autistic spectrum disorder. I said I hadn't, although a couple of psychiatrists had mentioned autism to me before. For example, during one session with a psychiatrist, I mentioned how in my childhood the bulk of my spare time was spent bouncing a ball up and down, and this particular doctor told me that this seemed to be a bit autistic. I looked up autism and saw online, this is more recently, that it sometimes coincided with epilepsy and schizophrenia, both of which I've had. I took an online questionnaire on autism and ticked all boxes that were there, and the only box I didn't tick that fitted autism was the meltdown box. I felt I didn't have meltdowns, although I have to say I just fall asleep if I'm upset and avoid socialising to avoid such anxieties. I was put on a waiting list for an autistic spectrum disorder test, but have started to change my mind because I didn't like being told I was effectively big-headed in so many words. The implication being that for some reason I was trying to make it I was a kind of gifted person or had some kind of special gift. I've changed my mind about being on this big-headed list and feel sorry for those stigmatised for having autistic spectrum disorder. Because it might be that they have wonderful gifts, but they don't necessarily want to be assumed to be arrogant in some way. There are now so many odd lists in London, it's as though I've never seen such fascist British blood. We have housing lists, autistic spectrum disorder lists, various mental health lists, and I think there are all kinds of all manner of odd health lists. I do not know why people with autism spectrum disorder assume to have a gift. I, for example, could play the piano by ear, at least one-handed, from the age of around 2, but I love repetition, and that might literally just be the extent of it in my case. There may be many other conditions that are present in someone with schizophrenia, and I hope that there is some progress in defining this condition. I recently had the pleasure of watching two lovely women in the US talk about their schizophrenia. They're both esteemed in their field of science, and it's such a pleasure to know these wonderful, kind people that are out there.